on then, if, hypothetically speaking.
I
would put him on Raw.
I don't know.
I'd put him on Raw. SmackDown's good right now. I think SmackDown's tag division's good right now. I'd put him on Raw. Don't put him in NXT though.
No,
bring him right up.
You know, these are questions that I don't have answers to. Maybe SmackDown's
Come
got
on,
a good.
Man, you're
I like
the,
the SmackDown tag team. I know the SmackDown tag teams could use some help in the sense of a little more name recognition.
You don't think the WWE, if they brought him in, do you think they'd put him in NXT? I think they would go right to the main roster.
I definitely think that's a possibility. WWE treats NXT like another brand. They don't treat them like...
Yeah, but they treat it like, oh, well, this is the independent circuit guys to
look at all the people they did put in NXT. Samoa Joe. I mean, Samoa Joe was huge.
He should have been in WWE
AJ
right
Styles.
Away.
Well, they didn't put AJ Styles. AJ Styles came... So it's hard because you have people like AJ Styles who they pull out of the Royal Rumble and they don't bring him into NXT.
Adam Cole is sitting in NXT right now. Bobby Fish.
Yeah. And
O'Reilly's there.
I felt Samoa Joe was the biggest name ever to be in NXT. Samoa Joe was headlining the TNA pay-per-views and was a huge name. And we're not talking independent. TNA at one time was actually pretty close. They're not now, but when they had the Hogans and the Stings and Ric Flair,
people were interested.
People were and at those times when they were on Spike TV and not Pop TV, when they were actually having good selling pay-per-views, Samoa Joe was headlining those pay-per-views.
Yeah.
With AJ Styles, who apparently they felt was a big enough name where they didn't have to put him in NXT. So is Samoa Joe a big name or not?
To me, yes.
Because AJ Styles, you're like, he's a big enough name to bring in right to the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, Rumble, yeah.
Well, then Samoa Joe is too, because Samoa Joe's been headlining the pay-per-views.
We were calling for stuff like that, though. You know what I mean? Like, okay, when's he going to debut? Because it's like, any time in NXT for Samoa Joe was too long for me. Yeah. He should have been on the main roster right away. He should have made a big impact, kind of like AJ Styles, make a Royal Rumble thing, or be like, an enforcer for, it would be like the Authorities enforcer, something like that.
So moving on to question number 3. This one's kind of a little bit off the rails here. So the World Wrestling Network, which is a place where you can find many different, let's say, smaller wrestling organizations under one umbrella. They're one of the main forces behind morethanmania.com, which is this thing that tells you about every kind of wrestling promotion that goes on outside at WrestleMania. You could go to WrestleMania essentially, never go to WrestleMania, and have a completely full weekend. They're the ones who put on the shows where from like midnight to midnight, it's just nothing but wrestling shows around the clock. They're a website in which houses a lot of these brands, whether it be Evolve or Shine Women's Wrestling or KC or ACW or any. They just have a bunch under Dragon's Gate, which is a big Japan one.
Absolutely.
They have these all under one thing. So now they're talking to fans who attend shows and or maybe even just watch, because like WWE Network, I think you can pay $9.99 a month and you can have all these matches, all these wrestling. Similar to what Fight TV is.
Yeah.
You're familiar with Fight TV?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So they've currently put out this GIF, I don't know what regulations or suggestions to fans. They say if you're going to post a GIF of anything that's our products, Evolve, Shine, Full Pro Wrestling, WN Super Show, American Combat, regardless, on social media, we ask that you never show a finish to a match. You never show any botches of equipment. Never show a clip that embarrasses another fan, and keep it under 15 seconds. Now, if you follow these rules, then we won't pull down your post. Now, my question is, do you think this is really none of their damn business?
Yeah, who gives? Here's my thing. Shut up.
If people are posting stuff about your stuff,
it's good for business. No matter what's going to happen, you're getting
WWE
exposure.
is big enough where they can start saying, and again, what are you to tell private citizens to do? That would be the NFL saying when you're here, post selfies that you're at the football game, but don't post this, don't post that. Like, it's my phone. I bought the ticket. You know what I mean?
Shut your mouth.
I'm not, and I know
that's it.
I know they're putting a lot of this stuff on their own social media accounts. So just say, listen to this. If you put this type of stuff, we won't repost it. But don't actually come out and say what you can and can't do. And first off, I don't even understand how popular are GIFs to begin with that you are pretty much they're generalizing this specific way. They didn't say you can't take a video or a JPEG.
They are pretty popular now.
They're so popular where it's like we have to specifically target this one form of social media.
On the social media, like I don't do the Instagram stuff, but I do the Facebook and I do the Twitter at Icebreaker 21, by the way. The GIFs are they're very prominent on those social media, and Facebook is doing a lot of GIFs. If Paul was on, he'd tell you because he puts GIFs on everything on Facebook, and that's what he does. So I see it all the time. So they're out there. I think the whole deal behind it is stupid. Shut up. You're getting exposure. Get the hell over it. If people want to watch your product, they're going to pay the monthly fee.
These are rules that. Who's gonna nobody just follows rules.
I'm not following that rule.
Most of the time when you put stuff out there, it does the opposite effect, and it just makes people more defiant.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, you're telling me no. Well, guess what? I'm doing it anyway. So sorry.
Maybe, yeah. Then don't even. It just helps promote that you have botches in your matches and in equipment.
It shows that it shows that these competitors are. I mean, yes, people say wrestling's fake.
WWE goes out of their way to tell their competitors, listen, if you botch, you're going to be a popular person on YouTube, so don't botch. Instead of just telling the fans, hey, when we screw up, don't record it. You know what I mean?
And yeah, so now you're going to see more screw ups online now.
Yeah, like
it's going to be a total different effect.
Don't botch. Just be better. And when you botch and you have a gift made out of you, that's just fodder to be better.
Exactly.
When you drop a touchdown pass, don't talk about it on SportsCenter. Just don't do it.
Yeah, don't be that guy that recovers the fumble and you get to the goal line and you drop the ball and you don't score. Yeah, that's not good. You don't want to be the guy that does that.
Yeah, I think it was your favorite team did that.
No, hey, whoa. My back in the day, well, not too far off topic, but the Cowboys, Leon Letts going in the end zone for a touchdown.
Yes.
And BB from the Bills swats it out. Yes, and it was a botch.
All right, so that's going to do it for the 3 count. When we return, our tweets of the week, and we wrap up this week's edition of the Heel to the Face podcast on Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, and iTunes.
The New York Jets are rising and are ready to compete in the AFC. Boyd Green and Ty Butler will give you everything you need to know about the Jets every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. From reviewing the previous game and looking ahead to the next matchup, to all of the news and 4 downs, the Jet Zone has everything. Follow @BoydGreen25 and @TyDButler on Twitter. Proud member of Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
This program is simulcast on WRPR Rat Pack Radio. Go to ratpacksports.com for more information.
Do you want to stay up to date on the latest sports news? Come check out After the Whistle from 4 to 5 p.m. every Friday night. We talk about the NHL, we talk about the NFL, we talk about the MLB. You name it, we got it. Tune in on Sports War Radio.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Let's get back to the action. This is the Heel to the Face podcast on Sports War Radio.
Back here on the Heel to the Face podcast for the final segment this week. the second week of October. It is time for our tweets of the week. We're going to start with Brandon Icebreaker Clements over here. What's your tweet of the week?
Nothing too crazy this week. It was actually an easy find. It was actually on the WWE's official Twitter account at WWE, and it was a quote from Baron Corbin to end the SmackDown Live program. Did he end the program on? Was the U.S. title? Was that the main event? I'm trying to remember. I think it was the main event, wasn't it?
Baron Corbin, AJ Styles.
Yeah, it was main event. Yeah. So sorry, I was just thinking for a second there. So back to what I was saying. So the quote was every single one of you. He's looking at the crowd. You can look at this championship and eat it. And he said it with such an emphasis. I was like, that is a great way to go off the show. And that is such Baron Corbin. That's why I love this guy. I think he's going to hold on to the title for a while.
All right. So my tweet of the week. It's kind of again like a tweet that is then subtweeted, retweeted. So Wrestling Narrow at Narrow Wrestling, so in reverse, put out that Fruit Loops currently has a unicorn flavor of Fruit Loops. And without tagging anybody, just said, this reminded me of Bootios. Big E then retweeted this and quoted, do we have any more of those cease and desist handy?
I did see that.
So
that was pretty good.
It's true. It makes, I don't think it's probably got a huge correlation, but you know what?
It's kind of interesting.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
And you wonder, I mean, that's the thing about wrestling fans. They are everywhere, and they're not always out there. They're not going to talk to you about wrestling at work because they don't know you're another wrestling fan. So you don't know if somebody at Fruit Loops, maybe. Yeah,
I mean, I've been very surprised in my work career over the years. Like, the people I would not expect to be wrestling fans are. It's like I would consider. I mean, not to stereotype it, but like you would think of somebody as, okay, maybe they're like too, I don't know, preppy or something for it. Maybe they're not. Oh, this. The biggest thing is they're the biggest fans. That's what people looked at me because I was I was preppy in high school, and it's like, and then like, oh, you watch wrestling? I'm like, hell yeah, I've been watching wrestling since I was 5 years old. You know what I mean? So it's like, I mean, you don't. It's wrestling. I mean. Wrestling fans are a very interesting group of people, and I have a lot of great friends that are wrestling fans. And a lot of times it just kind of came up, like maybe it was something on Facebook or on Twitter or, just talking about it. And then someone brings up John Cena, and I'm like, oh, wait, you know who John Cena is? Like, it was before John Cena was like a super mega star. And it's like, oh, you're a wrestling fan? Oh, okay. Now we have something in common. It's one of those things where you just kind of discover on its own. Like I grew up in it, so I've always loved wrestling. But I have a lot of friends that are like, I don't know how you still watch it, and I'm like, well, you just don't get it. It's for me. I've always enjoyed it, and some people look at me like, you're not a kid. I'm like, yeah, but it's awesome. I don't know.
Anything that somebody doesn't like, that's what people do.
It's
and I want to say just a quick thing that it just I hate it so much. Sports Illustrated, the Score, and ESPN, and recently the Score Instagram page put out the Shane McMahon fall off Hell in a Cell. 99.9% of the comments obviously had nothing to do with the fall, and it wasn't wrestling fans commenting or anything like that. It was literally just like the same old, like, why are you posting this? Oh, you're a sports site. You know that's fake, right? Like,
it's like, shut up. We understand that it's not.
Just like, go back and watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah, go. Yeah. Well, that's what all people. That's what everybody does now. Is watch Game of Thrones.
It's a societal thing. That's the thing. I mean, wrestling. People say that it's fake because of the fact that that's just like a cool thing to say. Nobody says like it. If I ever went and said, I used to watch movies, but I don't anymore. I found out they were fake. People would look at me weird because I'd be the first person to say that. But if you're not the first person to say wrestling's fake, so you jump on that. That's what I feel.
It'd be like, to me, it'd be like ripping in a way like Star Wars fans or like Harry Potter fans, like groups like that where they
wrestling fans understand that it's a form of a medium of entertainment.
Yes, and that's
people who are not wrestling fans look at it like it's something completely different.
And I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. I have a lot of friends that are Star Wars fans, and that's their thing. And I don't look down, like, I don't watch Star Wars, but I'm not gonna be like, oh, that sucks. You know what I mean? It's like you like this particular thing. That's cool. If you're into something, you're into something.
It's a form of entertainment.
Yeah, who cares?
And people who are wrestling fans know what it is.
Well, you know what? Wrestling fans, we're a big family, anyways, because we a lot of us go to the shows. I mean, not all WWE fans in particular are going to the shows. Like, I know you went to a lot of the 2CW back in the day. I got into it a little bit later on with the Ring of Honor, New Japan, stuff like that. I watched it occasionally. But it's like when you go to WWE shows, you can sit there and talk to somebody you've never met, and you can act like you've known them for 15 years. That's why I love going to wrestling shows, because you can just talk to anybody. Like, you guys have the same interest. It just makes it fun.
Sometimes, because sometimes you do the same thing, and then you find those really cocky wrestling fans who are just like, you want to